On Christmas Day, I cooked a table full of Damien's favorite dishes, but he stood me up again. I paused for a moment, then expertly opened his old flame's social media. Props to a certain someone. I just mentioned my light bulb was out, and he ditched his girlfriend to come over. Please maintain this precious quality of choosing friends over romance. The photo was of him, standing on a stool, head tilted back as he changed a light bulb. She was holding his legs, her face brushing against a sensitive area. He didn't flinch. There was even a faint smile on his lips. The image was jarring, but I didn't break down and start a fight this time. I just calmly liked the post and told him we were breaking up. But he didn't believe me at all. She's just throwing a tantrum. I'll give her the cold shoulder for a few days, and then I can have her wrapped around my finger again. But he didn't know that I was only easy to please because I loved him. From now on, he would never be able to please me again. My breakup message was like a stone dropped into the sea. But Sophie sent me a video. In a lively private room. His friends were laughing. Chloe's been chasing you for 7 years. And now she's breaking up with you. Is she for real? He was cutting a mango cake. His tone nonchalant. She's just throwing a tantrum. Trying to get me to go back to her. I was going to go back after I changed the light bulb. But the more she acts like this, the less I'll indulge her. I'll just ignore her for a few days. As he spoke, he held a piece of cake to her lips. New from CS. Do you like it? His friends were all winking and teasing. Chloe's just a stand-in anyway. Why don't you just break up with her? Now that the real deal is back. Aren't you two going to get together? Yeah, Sophie. You've been the only one in his heart all these years. He didn't say anything. Just looked at her with a burning intensity. What are you guys talking about? Damien and I are just good friends. The platonic kind. She said with a feigned surprise, playfully patting him. You'd better go and make up with your girlfriend. Otherwise, I'll never be able to clear my name. His eyes darkened, his voice a little strained. Don't worry. I can have her wrapped around my finger again. I watched the video numbly. Though I had decided to let go, my heart still ached. After all, he was the person I had fallen for at first sight and had loved for 7 years. On Christmas Day of my freshman year, I confessed to him. I knew he was the aloof campus heartthrob, that he had coldly rejected countless girls. My confession was just to have no regrets. But under the moonlight, he looked at my face for a long time and then ruffled my hair. Silly girl. Confessions are my job. Will you be my girlfriend? I thought I would always remember the thrill and beauty of that moment. Until one day, in the heat of a kiss, he murmured, Sophie. My whole body froze. It was our first Cold War. 3 days later, he came to me with a small cake. She was just a girl I had a crush on. That's all. Seeing the dark circles under his eyes, I softened and made up with him. At that time, I was confident that she wouldn't affect us. She was just an unattainable white moonlight from his youth, a past that had never begun. I was his girlfriend, his present and future. For 4 years of college, I loved him with all my heart. After graduation, I followed him to a strange city, even cutting ties with my family. He was good to me too. He would be the first to buy me the new dessert from the popular bakery. CS. He would gently and patiently blow dry my long hair and rub my stomach all night when I had my period. There were no sweet words, just a quiet, warm affection. I thought we would go from campus sweethearts to a married couple, that we would spend our lives together. Until 6 months ago, when she came back, when she casually said, You really did find a girlfriend who looks like me. The truth slowly, cruelly, unraveled me. So his confession was just to make up for the regret of her not accepting him. The cakes he bought without fail were from her favorite brand. All his thoughtful gestures were just the things she had said she wanted in a future boyfriend. He was just using me, a substitute, to ease his loneliness and to practice becoming her ideal man. I remembered his promise. Chloe, when we've been together for 7 years, let's get married. You left your home for me. From now on, I will spend every Christmas with you. This Christmas was our 7-year anniversary. But clearly, he had forgotten. It was good that he had, because I was going home for an arranged marriage. The clock struck 12, and he still wasn't home. In the past, I would have been up all night, tormented. But tonight, I slept surprisingly well. Perhaps letting go of someone who isn't worth it is also a way of letting go of yourself. I was woken early in the morning by noises from the kitchen. His shirt sleeves were rolled up to his elbows, his strong forearms flipping the spatula, reheating all of last night's dishes. "I'll make up for Christmas with you today," he said, tasting a piece of sweet and sour pork. "Not bad." I looked at him, surprised. He was always particular about his food and never ate leftovers. He looked down, waiting for my response. I realized then that this exception was his way of making up with me. He was waiting for me to take the olive branch. In the past, it would have worked. But now, I just shook my head. No need. No need to make up for Christmas. And no need to make up with me. He frowned, took out a piece of cake, and casually pushed it toward me. "Your favorite from CS. The new one." I looked at the leftover slice of cake, covered in mango, and my heart still ached. I didn't actually like sweets that much. What had made them sweet was his affection. But after 7 years, he knew all of her preferences by heart. Yet he couldn't even remember that I was allergic to mango. I was silent, belatedly feeling that these 7 years were not worth it. The impatience in his eyes grew, and he struggled to keep his temper in check. "That's enough. I've given you so many chances. If you don't take them, they'll be gone." If Sophie hadn't persuaded me, I wouldn't have come back so soon to make up with you. Don't mention breaking up again. Okay, so that was it. Even his making up with me was for her. "Damien, I'm serious," I said slowly. "I really want to break up and go home to get married." But my words were cut off by his special ringtone. "Sophie." His voice was naturally gentle, his eyes full of a smile. "All right, I'll be right there." He hung up, and his expression returned to its usual coolness. "Sophie needs me. I have to go." As in the past, he didn't wait for my response and just left. This time, I didn't stare after his retreating figure. With nothing to do during the long holiday, I went to the office. After I resigned after the holiday, I could leave. Organizing my files now would make the handover smoother. It was evening when I left the office. I went straight to a popular restaurant nearby. Besides its great food, it was said that couples who took a photo here were more likely to get married. I had wanted to go with him several times, but he was always busy. Now that I was about to leave the city, I decided to go by myself. But as soon as I walked in, I saw him and her. They were sitting side by side, very close. The table was filled with things he couldn't eat, but she loved. He didn't eat spicy food or seafood. I had always accommodated him, but he had someone he was willing to accommodate. Neither of them saw me. She smiled and put a piece of spicy chicken she had just bitten into his mouth. "It's delicious. You can have half." Her fingers brushed against his lips. He actually blushed. In my memory, he was always calm and composed. It turned out that at 25, he could still blush like a boy in love, only because the person he was with was the person he truly loved. "Sophie, how about we take a photo?" he asked, as if casually. But his eyes were full of nervousness and anticipation. She didn't answer, just playfully pushed him, and then suddenly looked up at me. Her expression was a mixture of amusement and mockery, as if she were watching a play. She was waiting for me to lose control, as I always had. I had indeed broken down countless times because of their relationship. On our anniversary, she could call him away with a single phone call because she didn't want to stay up all night making a PowerPoint. So he had to do it for her. When I had a high fever and was hospitalized with pneumonia, she said there was a power outage and she was afraid of the dark. So he chose to stay with her. On a stormy night, just because her reply was a little late, he rushed out to find her. They ended up drinking red wine and just talking all night. I had questioned him hysterically, had begged him without any dignity, but he would always just say calmly, "Don't make a scene." He had made all sorts of excuses not to come here with me, simply because the girl he wanted to take a photo with was someone else. This truth would have been enough to make the old me break down. But now I understood. Someone who doesn't care about you won't see your pain. They'll just think you're being noisy. I just looked at them calmly. "Why are you looking at me? Do you need help taking a photo?" He was taken aback. A flicker of embarrassment in his eyes quickly turned to anger. "Chloe, are you following us? Why are you being so sarcastic? You were the one who wanted to break up. I gave you a chance, and you didn't take it." I was in a bad mood, so I came out to have a meal with an old friend and take a photo. What's wrong with that? Do you know how suffocating it is to be watched like this? It will only push me further away. He rarely said so much to me at once. It couldn't be because he was nervous or cared about me. It was just guilt. It didn't matter. I said flatly. I just came to eat. Besides, we've already broken up. Whatever you do has nothing to do with me. Sophie raised an eyebrow. My reaction was not what she had expected. Chloe, don't be so dramatic, she said slowly. I said I wasn't feeling well today, so he spent the whole day with me. But don't get the wrong idea. We're just friends. She was always a bit of a green tea bitch. I never understood it. She didn't want him, but she spent so much time stringing him along. What was the point? But it had nothing to do with me anymore. I had no interest in figuring it out. I ignored them and found an empty table with my back to them, opening the menu. In the past, if I had seen such a scene, I would have probably run out crying, making a scene. But I hadn't done anything wrong. I just wanted to eat a meal I had been looking forward to for a long time. I ordered a lot of dishes, all my favorites, without having to accommodate anyone else. The spicy, fragrant dishes arrived one by one. I was glad I hadn't let irrelevant people ruin a good meal. I couldn't see them, but their voices were everywhere. When did you become so clueless? I remember you were so good at pleasing people. A light, familiar pat. I didn't have to look to know it was her, playfully hitting him. That time in 8th grade when I failed my math test, there was a lily on my desk every day. I only found out later that it was you, trying to cheer me up. In 9th grade, when I was stressed about the high school entrance exams, you copied down famous quotes for me every day, saying they would not only give me strength but also help with my essays. In high school, you brought me breakfast every day, no matter the weather, and walked me home. You even set an alarm in the middle of the night to get me limited edition figurines. Why can't you be a little more patient with your girlfriend? Every word was dripping with a sense of superiority and a deliberate, feigned innocence. He was silent for a moment. Then his voice was a little sulky. She can't compare to you. I ate my food as if nothing was wrong, but the spice almost brought tears to my eyes. 7 years of love. For that one sentence, I had doubted myself countless times, wondering if I had done something wrong, if that was why he didn't love me as much. It turned out it wasn't my fault at all. He had given all his heart and passion to someone else long ago, and he still couldn't let go. And I really had to let him go. After that day, he didn't come back. It was his usual way of dealing with conflict. No explanation, no apology, just the cold shoulder, leaving me to doubt myself, to fall apart. Then, a little bit of coaxing, and we would be back together. But I was only hurt because I loved him. Now, I no longer cared. I packed my bags. The house was filled with things we had bought together. My own things were pitifully few. I realized it had been so long since I had just been myself. After the holiday, I officially resigned. My supervisor signed the papers without any fuss. Going back to Shanghai. Are you and Director Lu getting married soon? I shook my head. I'm going back alone. She laughed. Don't hide it. My best friend is the HR at Rongsheng. Your Director Lu has already applied for a transfer to the Shanghai headquarters, and they can arrange a job for a spouse. He's already submitted the application. It has to be for you. Besides, you're a graduate from a top university. Not only did you leave your hometown, but you also took a job as a receptionist at our small company. It was a waste of your talent. But now, it's all paying off. I was stunned. He had never told me about this. We were both in the design field, a notoriously busy profession. He had said that one of us had to be more family-oriented. So I became that person. When he was making a name for himself in the industry, I was just a receptionist at a neighboring design firm. Domestic enough, and buried enough. The spouse he was planning to bring. It probably wasn't me, but I didn't explain. My supervisor was right about one thing. My days of suffering were over. In the evening, my department had a farewell party for me. When it was over, I was a little tipsy as I walked down the hallway and heard a familiar voice. Through the half-open door of a private room, I saw him, a cigarette between his fingers, his expression complex in the flickering light. Regret not taking Chloe with me. No, I did apply for the transfer for her. She left her family for me all these years. I know it's been hard on her. I thought I would go back to Shanghai with her, but when Sophie asked, I couldn't say no. His friend shook his head. You never thought that she hasn't accepted you all these years. When you get to Shanghai, you'll have even less of a chance. His throat bobbed. And he gave a self-deprecating laugh. You have to go all in once in your life. This is the last time. If she still doesn't accept me, then I'll give up and just marry Chloe and settle down. A sharp pain shot through my palm. When she had first come back, I had thought I wouldn't lose. She was just a dream to him. I had been with him for many years. All that effort and all those memories were my strength. But it turned out he had never woken from that dream. And why did he think I would always be there, waiting for him? Chloe. Sophie came from the direction of the restroom, a rare hint of caution in her eyes. You know, don't you? It's no use. The family member list has already been submitted. I'm getting this opportunity. I understood then. The reason she had been willing to play this hot-and-cold game with him was because she saw his value. But I still didn't understand. Since you were just using him and never liked him, why did you have to prove to me how good he was to you? All those provocative posts and texts. She didn't have to send them. She crossed her arms and laughed lightly. I just felt that, even if it's something I don't want anyone else to have it too easily. I suddenly found it ridiculous. Wasn't he just another me? Having given his heart to the wrong person for so many years, only to be treated like an object. As I turned to leave, she blocked my path. Just like now. I don't want him to leave with any guilt toward you. She suddenly clapped her hands together. A sharp sound. And then shrieked. He rushed out almost immediately and shoved me away. Your girlfriend doesn't seem too happy about the job transfer, she said, covering her uninjured face. My head hit the wall. I touched it and felt blood, but his eyes were filled with a dark anger. Smack. Before he could question me, I slapped him. That wasn't me before, but this is. My blood smeared across his face. A perfect reflection of our messy relationship. Chloe, you look like a shrew right now, he said, turning his head, his face livid. Didn't you say you wanted to break up? I agree. So who I take with me is none of your business. I'm not going to coax you this time. Let's see if you come crying back to me. He glared at me, then helped her into the private room and slammed the door. The bang separated two worlds. I never thought our end would be so undignified. I slowly turned and walked in the opposite direction. The cut on my head throbbed, and my heart ached with it. But no matter how painful or humiliating, a wound will always heal. It will always pass. That night, I boarded a plane, left the city where I had lived for 3 years, and began the long journey home. Knowing his pride, I thought he would not contact me again. We would just fade from each other's lives. But a week later, he sent me a message. So stubborn this time. You'd rather hide and cry by yourself than contact me. What are you doing? I was busy all day and only saw it in the evening. I just replied flatly. Just got engaged. Can you stop it? I know how things are in Shanghai. They don't even have betrothal gifts. What engagement? Unless it's one of those rich family arranged marriages. Are you? I know you're just trying to make me jealous, to get me to come back to you. But there's a limit to how much you can make up. I stared at the screen, stunned. I never thought he would reply so quickly. And with a string of messages. In the past, I was always the one who waited. I never thought I would get the instant replies I had always wanted. Only after we had broken up. But I no longer wanted them. After all, we had broken up. He wasn't wrong. I had faked being sick several times after she came back. It was always because he would rush to her side for the smallest thing. I wanted him to do the same for me. But I only learned that I was just a poor imitation. A self-inflicted humiliation. It was pointless. I looked at the screen full of messages but didn't reply. In the past, he would have been furious. Would have even blocked me. But a moment later, he called. I looked at the screen and, without hesitation, declined the call and blocked him. We had really broken up. I had said it, and he had confirmed it. A good ex should be like a dead person. Besides, I was engaged now. I would have no more entanglements with him. He wasn't wrong. Though, engagements were not common in Shanghai. But the Su and Xia families were different. My family was in real estate. His in industry. Rongxing, the company he was transferring to, was one of the Xia family's businesses. My fiancé, Ethan Xia, was currently training at Rongxing as the general manager. We were also childhood friends. But he had always been the other family's kid that all the rich parents talked about. He was only 3 years older than me. When I was still in elementary school, he had already been accepted into a special program for gifted youth at a top university. when I had just barely made it through the college entrance exams. He had already gone through rotations at all of his family's companies. Then he had gone to the perennially loss-making Rongsheng. In just 3 years, he had turned it around and made it a leader in the industry, with branches all over the country. So we rarely had much to do with each other. We were both considered the golden children of our generation. But his light shone far brighter than mine. Actually, when I had agreed to the arranged marriage, I had thought it wouldn't happen. After all, with his abilities, he no longer needed to follow his family's arrangements. But he had agreed. The engagement party was all according to my preferences. I said I didn't want a big fuss, and he agreed. The low-key, elegant venue was filled with only our close family and friends. In front of our families, he knelt and put the ring on my finger. Chloe, in the past, my life was all about work. But from now on, you will be an inseparable and important part of my life. He gave me his full sincerity and respect. Amid the chorus of praise for our perfect match, I also called him Ethan and returned a graceful smile. I wasn't excited, but I felt at ease. He had a good reputation and always kept his word. Even if there was no love in the future, at least I wouldn't have to worry about him straying. I wouldn't have to worry about being a second choice again. I had spent 7 years for a relationship that left me scarred. Now, a stable, mutually beneficial marriage was the best outcome for both our families. After a tiring day of engagement preparations, I lay in bed with a face mask on. My best friend's video call came through. She also had a gold foil mask on, her words muffled. Chloe, Damien has been frantically trying to find you tonight. Didn't he agree to the breakup? Could he be having second thoughts? My best friend, Sarah, had gone to the same university as us and had witnessed everything. When I had decided to leave with him, she had been as opposed as my parents. I know a relationship needs compromise, but why is it always you who's compromising? And in terms of career development, Shanghai is far better than his third-tier hometown. Why not try to make him stay? I had tried, of course, but no matter what I said, he had only one answer. His home was there. His friends were there. Finally, he said, then let's just do long distance. I couldn't bear it. I was afraid a long-distance relationship would change things. I wanted to see him every day. At that time, I had told my family with certainty that we would be happy. The only thing I had listened to was not telling him about my family's background. I was sure that one day, I would bring him back and show everyone that I had not made the wrong choice. At that time, I had thought it was brave to give up everything for love. Now, I just found it laughable. I told Zara, we've really broken up. I've blocked him. As for him having regrets, I didn't think so. It was probably just that his devoted follower had suddenly slipped from his grasp, and his ego was a little bruised. That's good. I heard he's transferring to Rongsheng headquarters and is bringing a family member with him. What kind of crazy arrangement is that? Speaking of which, you're starting at Rongsheng tomorrow, right? Isn't that a recipe for a dramatic showdown? I was unconcerned. No, he's the director of Design Department 2. I'm in Design Department 1. I was a designer, and Rongsheng was the most suitable company. So when my family suggested I go to Rongsheng to get to know Ethan better, I agreed. I just declined the position of Deputy Director of Design Department 1 and decided to start from the bottom. I had been a receptionist since graduation. My experience was lacking. I had to make up for it with my own hard work. What position I could get should depend on my abilities, not on who was behind me. Just like Ethan, who had also started from the bottom. Since we were to be married, I wanted us to be equals. And Rongsheng was a massive company. The 2 design departments were in different buildings. The chances of us meeting were low. But even if we did, so what? He still had her. If we happened to cross paths, I would just walk past. The next day, I officially started my new job. The pace at a big company was fast. Lacking experience, I spent more time trying to catch up. Fortunately, Ethan was also a workaholic. We didn't bother each other. Only when I worked late, his assistant would bring me food from a private kitchen. And on weekends, we would have dinner with our families. For 2 people with no emotional foundation, this distance was perfect for me. I almost never thought about him, but I did occasionally think of her. She had been so determined to get into Rongsheng. I wondered why. It was strange. Though Rongsheng had a low acceptance rate, a graduate from a prestigious overseas university like her shouldn't have failed the interview. She had to rely on his family member status to get in. Half a month passed, and there was no news from design department 2. My curiosity had its limits, so I focused on improving myself. But I never thought that so soon I would meet him again. That day, our department had a proposal to deliver to the marketing department. The marketing department, design department 2, and the CEO's office were all in the same building. I had a dinner appointment with Ethan at his family's home, so I offered to drop it off. And as I was waiting for the elevator, I ran into him. Chloe. Across the crowded lobby. He called out my name through gritted teeth. I turned and was taken aback. He was undeniably handsome, and he had always maintained a clean, cool image. But now, he looked haggard. The dark circles under his eyes suggested he hadn't slept well in a long time. In my moment of distraction, he had already pulled me into the stairwell. He pinned me against the wall, his hands on either side of me, and just stared. His heaving chest was almost touching mine. His eyes were filled with a suppressed anger and an emotion I couldn't read. This proximity made me uncomfortable. I used my folder to create some distance between us. His eyes fell on the folder, and he saw it was a design proposal. So, you're working at Rongxing too. For some reason, the tension in his eyes eased, and he even smiled. Is this fun for you? His voice was lighter now. What? I didn't understand. Don't play dumb, you little fox. He tapped my forehead. You say you want to break up. You pretend not to contact me. You even block me. And then you secretly follow me to Shanghai. Do you know how worried I've been? I found out you resigned and looked for you everywhere. That day you said you were getting engaged. I almost believed you. He suddenly laughed. How could I have believed that? So ridiculous. I looked at him, at his certainty that I was still desperately in love with him. I found it laughable. Yes, I had once loved him very much, but the Chloe who had been completely devoted to him had been lost by his own hand. Let go, I said, pushing him, but he just laughed. I won't. Not unless you give me a kiss. My eyes turned cold, and I stomped on his foot. Hard. He cried out in pain and let go, looking at me in disbelief. Chloe, I've already coaxed you this much. How much longer are you going to be difficult? Yes. I gave the job opportunity to Sophie, but I only hid it from you because I was afraid you would make a scene. I was going to tell you after everything was settled. Besides, this is your hometown. It's easy for you to come back. And look, you got into Rongxing on your own. You haven't lost anything. Can't you just be less petty? The pressure at headquarters is immense. If you keep this up, I'll be exhausted. It was rare for him to say so much to explain himself, but I was unmoved. My eyes were full of sarcasm. What? Did you try and fail to win her over? So you've decided to settle for me now? He froze. That day, you heard everything. He opened his mouth, as if to explain, but the sound of high heels came from behind him. Sophie's expression was a mixture of surprise and accusation. Chloe, what are you doing here? Haven't you two broken up? What is this? Trying to get back together. He instantly tensed. I understood. He hadn't given up on her yet. So what right did he have to try and make up with me? Zara was right. The showdown had come sooner than expected. But it was his showdown, not mine. I said nothing, but I already knew who he would choose. In the countless times before, he had always chosen her over me. I didn't know what had happened in the past 2 weeks, but her tone was now laced with a hint of accusation, as if she hadn't been the one to toy with his affections, as if she had always been the rightful one. But there was no need for me to explain. He would coax her, but this time, he was uncharacteristically silent. He didn't immediately go to comfort her. She was clearly surprised as well. The usual calm and superior look in her eyes seemed to crack. I was even considering whether or not to accept you. It turns out you weren't serious at all. Fine. I wish you both 100 years of happiness. She turned and ran, her face cold. The clatter of her heels was like a string of accusations. He finally came to his senses. He hesitated for a moment, then said to me, Chloe, I'll explain later. He took a few steps, then turned back. The breakup was just in anger. I didn't agree. You're still my girlfriend. I was about to speak, but he was already chasing after her. I held my folder, speechless for a moment. So, as she had said, someone was trying to get back together. It was him. But he was saying he didn't want to break up with me, while chasing after her. It was so contradictory and ridiculous. A textbook cheater. But it had nothing to do with me. I would not go back. Even if he didn't want to break up. It was no use. I pushed open the stairwell door and went to the marketing department. They had some questions about our proposal. Seeing that I was new, they hesitated. "I'll talk to someone else later." "No need," I said. I had been involved in the design from the beginning. I knew everything. I quickly clarified the points in question. The marketing director, who was passing by, stopped and listened. "A new hire in design department 1. Very good." The marketing colleague was a little apologetic. "Sorry, I was being prejudiced. It's just that the new girl in design department 2, that's Sophie. She never knows anything, and she's always causing problems." I thought all the new hires were like that. Someone else shook their head. "Even though she got the job through company benefits with the director, she's supposed to have a master's from overseas. Did she buy her degree?" A thought struck me. It was so easy to apply directly to Rongxing. Why had she gone through such a roundabout way, asking him for help? And the subtle change in her attitude toward him. Could it be related to her work troubles? In his eyes, she had always been a goddess. Smart, generous, and lively. Perfect in every way. But a person's abilities are revealed through daily interaction. I wondered how much of his white moonlight filter was left. Probably still there. Otherwise, he wouldn't have chased after her. But their love-hate relationship, in the end, had nothing to do with me. I wasn't interested in their affairs. I was curious about her secret, but not that curious. I left the marketing department and was about to go to the CEO's office to find Ethan. Someone blocked my path. "We need to talk." I never thought it would be her. I looked at her silently. The person who, for the past 6 months, had caused me so much pain, so many sleepless nights. Actually, at the beginning, I had gone to her. I had told her, openly, that if she liked him, I would step aside. I knew that there was no happiness in a forced relationship. But she had just looked at me with a mixture of contempt and pity. It was her usual look for me. Perhaps because in this 3-person drama, she saw herself at the top. And so she was always condescending, watching my painful offer to give him up. She had just laughed. "No wonder he says being with you is getting more and more tiring. We're just good friends." The simplest, purest kind of relationship. Why are you overthinking things? Even if you love someone, they still have to interact with other people. You can't just tie them to your side, can you? Such a transparent attempt to cover up. Such a smug attitude. But I was powerless against her. Only because I loved him. Since she didn't like him, I thought that if I was sincere enough, he would eventually see that I was the one he should spend his life with. But that was all in the past. This time, she was still trying to put on her superior act, but the weariness in her eyes betrayed her lack of confidence. "I underestimated you," she said, her eyes hostile. "I thought you were a simple, one-trick-minded person. I never thought you were so cunning, that you knew how to play hard to get. Now he's getting nervous about you. Are you satisfied?" I was just annoyed. Did these people not understand plain language? I've already broken up with him. I've said it many times. But she just scoffed. "Fine. Save that for him. I'm not buying it. I've heard about your past. I know how much you love him. Besides, you've been with a man for 7 years. Do you think any other man would still want you?" I was speechless. What era was this? A woman who had studied abroad could say something so backward. But she thought she had hit a nerve and was becoming more and more smug. "Just like you can't let go of your years with him. He can't let go of his feelings for me. The reason he seems to care about you now is just because you're playing games. But you saw just now, with a flick of my finger, he still chose me." I realized that talking to her was like talking to a brick wall. "So, what do you want to say to me?" "I'm saying, I've changed my mind," she said, looking down her nose at me. "Now that we're working at the same company, I've realized that he's grown up to be quite a remarkable man. While he's still my backup, I forbid you from pestering him. If I can successfully become the CEO's wife, I don't mind giving him back to you. But if I don't succeed, then he's not a bad second choice. I'll take him. So until I've made up my mind, you two are not to contact each other. And no more of your little games, or I'll make you pay. Understood?" She went on, and I went from being an amused spectator to being genuinely surprised. The CEO's wife. So her insistence on getting into the company was because she was after Ethan. To sum it up, She was after my current boyfriend and was warning me not to contact my ex-boyfriend. It was absurd. But where did she get her confidence? Do you know Ethan? Or does he know you? I was highly doubtful. After all, he was a complete workaholic, with a blank relationship history. When he had heard that his arranged marriage partner was in love with someone else, he had just said that was good. He could focus on work. A man like him, a diamond bachelor, would have countless women throwing themselves at him. But he was always aloof, with not even a hint of scandal. His parents had even started to worry about his orientation and had tried to probe, to no avail. This time, his agreeing to the arranged marriage, his consideration for my feelings at the engagement party, and his subsequent calm interactions with me, had made his parents almost cry with joy. They looked at me not like a future daughter-in-law, but like a reincarnated bodhisattva. Now, looking at her inexplicable confidence, I could have just told her who I was. But I had joined the company on the down low precisely because I wanted to make my own way. Once my identity as his fiancée was revealed, everything would be different. That wasn't what I wanted. So, I kept quiet. She glanced at me. Of course. I've met him. When I was studying abroad, he was a guest professor at my university, and he's an honorary alumnus. So, I'm his junior. I've watched all of his interviews. He's mentioned his type. He likes girls with big eyes. I worked so hard to get into this company just to be closer to him, so he would notice me and fall in love with me. She spoke with such excitement, and I suddenly realized that people in love are all the same. So laughably unaware, so foolishly hopeful. I couldn't help but laugh. She looked at me warily. What are you thinking? Don't think just because you look like me and have big eyes, you can go after him. A woman like you, who's been with another man for 7 years. He wouldn't even look at you. Look like her. The first time I met her, I didn't think we looked alike. It was only after seeing her old photos from middle school that I saw it. She had big, bright, clear eyes. But 7 years later, her eyes were no longer pure. We didn't look alike at all anymore. You should look in a mirror sometime, I said. And with that, I turned to leave. When I went to his office, he was in a conference call, but he put it on hold, personally made me tea, and brought out some snacks. All my favorites, all fresh. I only came by occasionally, but he always had them ready. It was thoughtful. I remembered her saying he liked girls with big eyes. Could it be that he actually liked me a little? Then I realized I was being fanciful. Growing up, if he had really liked me, he had had plenty of opportunities to say something, but he never had. The type was probably just something he said when he was asked too many times. After his meeting, we went to the garage through a private passage. The driver pulled out smoothly, then suddenly braked. No one would have expected her to be in the CEO's private garage. She cried out in pain, and when she looked up, the words she had prepared died in her throat. Her voice was shrill with shock. Chloe, what are you doing in Mr. Sia's car? She glared at me, but I had no obligation to answer her, and he clearly had no intention of doing so. Only the driver got out. Are you an employee of Rongxing? This is the CEO's private garage. How did you get in? She finally came to her senses, remembering her purpose. She composed herself and said apologetically, "Oh, is that so? I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm a new employee and not familiar with the company. I was just thinking about a design proposal and wasn't paying attention." As she spoke, she fluttered her eyelashes. It was a little forced, and I could tell she had probably practiced it in the mirror many times. I looked at her affected performance, and then I remembered her effortless control over his every emotion. At that time, she had been so casual, yet so confident. So, when faced with someone she was truly interested in, she could be this clumsy, almost like a clown. And my own breakdowns, my arguments, my crying, in his eyes, must have looked just like this. So true that those in the midst of it are blind. I glanced at him. At least in our respectful future, I would no longer be that out of control, ugly, and unaware person. She put on her best show of charm, her eyes constantly darting to him for a reaction. But he didn't give her a single glance. The driver, sensing his impatience, said, "Then please leave immediately." Her face stiffened. This cold dismissal was probably a far cry from the beautiful, love at first sight encounter she had imagined. But since this was what she had been dreaming of, How could she give up so easily? She paused, then ran to my side of the car and looked at me through the half-open window. Chloe, I called your name just now, but you didn't answer. I thought I was mistaken. It really is you. What are you doing in Mr. Xia's car? Does your boyfriend, Damien, know? You've been together for 7 years. You should at least tell him. Her eyes were full of malice, as if she wanted to tear me apart, to destroy me. But she had to hold it back, to pretend she was just being thoughtless. Then, her gaze shifted to him. I'm sorry, Mr. Xia. I'm just a straightforward person. I say whatever is on my mind. I hope I'm not disturbing you. I really didn't mean to come in here. I'll leave now. She gave him a sweet smile, blinked her big eyes, but didn't move. It wasn't until the driver urged her again, and he continued to ignore her, that she finally left, disappointed and unwilling. After her figure disappeared, he looked at me, a question in his eyes. Should I take care of her? He made a throat-slitting gesture. I sat up straight. I heard the Xia family doesn't have any gray area businesses. I just wanted an arranged marriage and a quiet life. I didn't want to be a gangster's woman. He looked at me, stunned at first. Then, a smile appeared in his usually emotionless eyes. What are you thinking? He said, ruffling my hair. I meant, should I have her fired? I haven't looked into your past, so I don't know your relationship with her. But she clearly has bad intentions. If she's going to upset my fiancé, I won't have her around. I was taken aback. Since our engagement, we had had some physical contact. We had exchanged rings, hugged, and kissed each other on the cheek. After dinner at his family's home, we would usually walk in the garden, arm in arm. But this was the first time he had done something so natural and intimate. It reminded me of how he and I had started, with him ruffling my hair after I confessed. Silly girl. Confessions are my job. At that time, his eyes had also been incredibly gentle, but we had still come to this. The love and sweetness I had thought would last forever had been stolen by time. I sighed and looked up to see him still patiently waiting for my answer, not wanting him to see my complex emotions. I smiled. Firing an employee just for me. Won't that look like you're abusing your power? Mr. Xia, whether public or private, she should be fired, he said seriously. The passage to the CEO's private garage has several prominent warning signs. If she couldn't see them, it's a clear indication of her incompetence. He glanced at his phone. 3 minutes ago. I had my assistant look into it. Sophie was hired by Rongxing as a family member of Design Department 2's director, Damien, because she has a master's degree from overseas. We gave her a designer position based on her resume, but according to her performance, it seems she is not qualified for the job. So, in any respect, she is not a good fit for the position. HR will now verify her resume. If it is found to be fraudulent, it will also involve fraud. He spoke so clearly and logically. I couldn't argue. At the same time, I felt a faint sense of disappointment, so there was no favoritism. He was just being professional. I nodded. All right, then let's just follow the procedure. As the car drove toward his family's home, I thought he would ask about him, because she had specifically mentioned our 7 years. 7 years. I hadn't done anything wrong, but I also knew that society's view might be different, especially for someone as exceptional as him. His past relationship history was a blank slate. I pretended not to care, but I was worried about whether he would mind my past. But on the way, he didn't ask anything. He just talked about work. His few words of advice actually cleared up some of my confusion. He was a truly remarkable person. Looking at his sharp profile, listening to his steady, gentle voice, a question kept popping into my mind. Does he really not mind? Tonight was dinner at his family's home. His parents saw me and were as warm and grateful as ever. After dinner, his assistant came with a document. He took it and said slowly, "Dad, Mom, I want to transfer all my shares in Rongxing to Chloe. Do you have any objections?" I looked at him in surprise. Rongxing was at its peak. He held 60% of the shares, giving him absolute control. At market value, it was at least 10 billion. More importantly, it was his most satisfying creation. It was his life's work. He had even said in an interview that he saw it as his child, and now he was just giving it to me. But his parents had no objections either. His mother, should I transfer mine to her too? His father, then I'll just follow my wife's lead. He signed the contract. As you wish. He handed it to me. Chloe, would you like to go for a walk? After Christmas. The garden was still filled with the rich scent of osmanthus. The evening breeze carried it to my nose. It was lovely. His voice came with the wind. Chloe, since that woman appeared, I can feel that you've been a little down. Everyone has a past, but it is those experiences that have made us who we are. No matter what unhappiness or pain there was in the past, I just want you to know that it won't happen again. We are going to spend our lives together. The future is what's most important. I want to give you a sense of security. From now on, I will be working for you. His words made me laugh, but my nose still stung a little. I asked him seriously, so, you really don't mind that I had a 7-year relationship? Just one relationship? Of course not, he said, his expression serious. Actually, I've had many relationships in the past. I was taken aback. I thought he was devoted to his work and had never been in a relationship. Were they all secret? He shook his head with a straight face. When I was younger, I made a lot of enemies in the business world. I'm sure many of them still think of me. He added, they hate their guts kind of think of me. I couldn't help but laugh. So the serious, robotic Ethan also had this side to him. But I knew that this lively side was reserved for me. He was trying to make me laugh. To make me happy. He had given me his exclusive affection. The moonlight fell gently on us. The gloom in my heart was swept away, and I felt lighter than ever. He looked at me, and a faint blush appeared on his ears. Chloe, can I kiss you? We were very close. The faint scent of pine from him mingled with the osmanthus. It was wonderful. I felt no resistance, so I smiled and closed my eyes. The next moment, a light kiss landed on my lips, as soft as a feather brushing against my heart. The strings of my heart, for the first time in a long time, trembled. He held me in his arms. When you feel ready, let's get married. Okay. I rested my head on his chest, listening to his strong, slightly fast heartbeat. I felt an inexplicable sense of peace. Okay. They say a good relationship can make you a better person. After last night, I felt as if a great weight had been lifted. I was refreshed. As usual, I woke up early and went for a run with Zara. We had grown up together, our houses next to each other. When I had left, she had tried so hard to stop me, and we had almost stopped being friends. I was glad I hadn't lost my good friend. As we ran, she kept looking at me. What is it? I asked, touching my face. I remembered washing it. Chloe, you look so good today. It's like you've been reborn. She suddenly leaned in and whispered, did you too? You know, my face flushed slightly. We just kissed. Just a kiss. And you're like this. Zara covered her face in surprise. Ethan is a genius in everything he does. I can't wait to see you two together. We laughed and ran on. But I remembered when I had just returned to Shanghai. She had rushed to see me. When she saw me, her eyes had reddened. Chloe, you've lost so much weight. Her hesitation told me that wasn't what she had wanted to say. She had probably wanted to say that I looked haggard. At that time, I was consumed by a sense of loss. I had neglected to love myself for a long time. I was like a withered flower. They say loving someone is like tending a flower. Now, I was very happy with my own state. After my run, I showered, had breakfast, and went to the office early as usual. As a newcomer, I had a lot to learn. I was used to being the first one there. But today, someone was even earlier. Chloe, Damien stood at the office door, furious. Didn't I say I would come and find you? That I would explain. How could you do this? I knew why he was here. I just looked at him calmly. What have I done? Sophie was fired last night. She said it was you. Faced with his accusation, I didn't want to argue. The reason for her dismissal should have been clearly stated by HR. If you have any questions, you shouldn't be asking me. Get out of my way. I have to work. But he stood there, motionless. And finally, as if in compromise, said, don't target her anymore. I'll marry you. I promise. I'll have you transferred to Design Department 1. Then I'll move her to Department 2. After we get married, I will cut off all contact with her. Are you satisfied now? I finally lost my patience. Damien, did that slap not wake you up? We broke up. I don't want you. And am not going to marry you. As for her being fired, she brought it on herself. He was stunned, completely unable to believe I would refuse. I said, I'll marry you. Isn't that what you've always wanted? He looked at me. uncertain, a flicker of panic in his eyes. He even raised his hand to touch my forehead. Are you in shock? Chloe, I said I'll marry you. I slapped his hand away. I've already made my position clear. I don't want to repeat myself. If you don't leave, I'm calling security. I turned to press the alarm, but she rushed out from around the corner and blocked it. The sunlight fell on her, and her eyes, wide and bloodshot, were clearly from a sleepless night. She looked terrifying. Chloe, didn't you always love him? I'm giving you a chance. I've told him to marry you. What are you waiting for? Just say yes. Her tone was almost fanatical. You get married, and then get the company to not fire me. Otherwise, I'll tell everyone your dirty secrets. She lunged at me. Say yes to him. I was about to dodge when he stepped in front of me. What dirty secrets? I couldn't see his expression, but his back was tense, and his voice was full of anxiety. She didn't answer him, just stared at me. This is your last chance. Say yes. Don't fight me for him. I didn't answer her. I just pressed the alarm. What dirty secrets? He demanded, grabbing her wrist. You're hurting me. But he, who had always been so considerate of her, seemed not to hear. Just repeated. What did Chloe do? They struggled, and I just watched, unmoved. The hope in her eyes finally died. She finally believed that I really didn't want him anymore. Then, her expression became even more crazed. Damien, do you know why she doesn't want you anymore? Because she's a mistress. She's Ethan C's mistress. Her eyes were full of regret. I shouldn't have told you that he likes girls with big eyes. You must have found out yesterday and deliberately went to the garage to seduce him. If only I had gone a little earlier. I spent so many days scouting the place, just to be sure. If I had gone a little earlier, it would have been me sitting next to him. But why isn't he picky? He doesn't even mind someone like you. Why? Why did I tell him about your past? And he still fired me for you. I worked so hard to get close to him. Why is he doing this to me? It was the first time I had seen her so broken, far more pathetic than I had ever been. He slowly let go of her and looked at me, his eyes bloodshot. Is it true? I don't believe it, he said, reaching for me. Come with me. I dodged his grasp. The security guards had arrived. Seeing that it was him, they were still polite. Director Liu, please calm down. Let's not get physical. He didn't even look at them, just stared at me. Chloe, why won't you answer me? Could it be true? How could you? Chloe, how could you? So a little receptionist like you got into Rongxing because of Mr. Xie, is that it? Were you with him all along? Is that why you broke up with me? All these years of love. How could you just let it go? But soon, his questions turned to sorrow. His voice even choked. All our years together. Why did you just throw it all away? More and more employees were arriving, looking at the three of us with curiosity. And she, who had been quiet for a moment, suddenly shouted, Are you curious about what's going on? We're catching a mistress. Chloe from Design Department 1. So young and already a MMM. He covered her mouth, his voice slow. Don't say it, Sophie. This is between me and her. You'll ruin her. She bit his hand hard. Blood immediately welled up. She pushed him away. You're right. I'm going to ruin her. Because she ruined my dream first. She ran into the crowd so he couldn't stop her. Chloe from Design Department 1. A shameless mistress. She used to be just a receptionist. She sold herself to get in here. Because I found out about her dirty secret. She had her sugar daddy fire me. But she's the one who should be fired. Everyone, come and judge for yourselves. Come and beat this shameless mistress. I had never thought a person's face could be so twisted. Her distortions, her lies, were so shameless. But to my surprise, almost no one believed her. I know Chloe. I heard the head of marketing praise her. She's a very talented newcomer. Do you think there's no one in our department? Chloe may be new, but she's a fast learner. She's the first one here every day. Even on projects where she's not credited, she's willing to help out to improve herself. Who are you insulting? Isn't that Sophie from Design Department 2? The one who's been here for less than a month and has already caused so many problems. If you're still here, that would be the real scandal. Being fired is a blessing. That's right. What era is this? Spreading such rumors. She had clearly not expected things to turn out this way. She tried to argue, but her voice was drowned out. Suddenly, her eyes lit up, and she pointed to the stairwell. Mr. Xie, The one who's keeping her is Mr. Xia. The sound of steady footsteps. Ethan, in a sharp suit, came from the end of the hall. Step by step, he walked to my side. The scent of pine from him calmed my frayed nerves. He looked at me, a question in his eyes, and I realized that we had a silent understanding. I understood his look and nodded. I am indeed with Chloe, he said, his voice calm but authoritative. The crowd fell silent for a moment, then erupted in discussion. She shouted the loudest. Now you believe me, right? Chloe is a mistress. A shameless, stinking mistress. But soon, the crowd's voices drowned her out. What? Chloe and Mr. Xia. Mr. Xia isn't even married. How can she be a mistress? At most, she's his girlfriend. They actually look really good together. I ship it. Am I the only one who noticed that Mr. Xia called her Chloe? He's usually so professional. That one word was surprisingly gentle. I'm so jealous of Chloe. She must have saved the galaxy in her past life. She listened in disbelief, her voice hoarse as she argued back. Even if she's not a mistress, she's still being kept. How could a man from a family like Mr. Xia's be interested in a little receptionist? Someone who's been, She clutched her face in pain. He had casually taken a folder from his assistant and thrown it at her. In an instant, her lip was split, and she hissed in pain, unable to speak. If there is a kept relationship between us, he said, putting his arm around me, then it is I who am being kept by her, because Chloe is the chairman of the Rongxing Group, and I am just working for her. He turned to me, his eyes full of tenderness. Right, my fiancé. Just then, a large group of people came down the hall. It was his parents and their lawyers. We came to transfer the shares to our daughter-in-law. I didn't expect to see such a good show, his mother said, her presence commanding. Our Xia family and the Su family have had a marriage agreement for a long time. That Chloe is willing to marry my son is a blessing for our family. If anyone dares to gossip again, they're fired. Everyone was shocked. So Chloe is the daughter of the real estate tycoon Su. She was born in Rome, and she's still working so hard. I like her even more now. No wonder Mr. Xia likes her so much. They're on the same wavelength. A perfect match. Impossible, she shouted, her mouth full of blood. I don't believe it. Chloe, you were my defeated rival. How could you be so lucky? Stop it, he said, pulling her back. He looked at me, his expression a mixture of emotions. He opened his mouth, but in the end, said nothing. His father pointed at her and ordered the security guards. Get this woman out of here. Blacklist her from the industry. Never to be hired again. On what grounds? She shrieked. I was hired by Rongxing through the family talent policy. I have a master's from a prestigious university. How can you fire me for a personal matter? I'm going to the media. She had understood that she had lost. Her little tricks would not win his heart. She would not become the CEO's wife. Her eyes were full of calculation. She clearly had a new idea. If you want me to leave, fine. You have to compensate me. An amount that satisfies me. Otherwise, I'll go to the media and expose Rongxing for violating labor laws and firing employees arbitrarily. Isn't Rongxing in the middle of a crucial project negotiation? If negative news breaks at this time, you know how great the losses will be. The more she spoke, the more confident she became. As for the compensation, I want to discuss it with Mr. Xia personally, just the two of us. Seeing the fire in her eyes, I understood that she still hadn't given up. She was still hoping for a chance to be alone with him, to make him fall for her. I looked at her, her mouth bloody, her face a mask of greedy desperation. I remembered the first time I met her, when he had taken me to pick her up from the airport. She had taken off her sunglasses, looked me up and down, and said with a light laugh, "You really did find someone who looks like me." At that time, she was as proud as a swan, but now, her eyes were filled with a vulgar madness. The contrast was so great that even I was taken aback, let alone him. He looked at her, his eyes full of disappointment and confusion, as if asking, where had the white moonlight he had cherished for so many years gone? Perhaps, like the him who had once loved me, she had gotten lost in time. He didn't say anything. He just looked at the HR director who had rushed over. Mr. Xia, we've investigated. Sophie's overseas master's degree is fake. She was enrolled, but she was expelled for some reason not long after. Falsifying her academic credentials alone is enough reason for the company to fire her. Her face, which had been full of calculation and even a hint of triumph, was now drained of all color. A colleague in the crowd, seeing the report in the HR director's hand, leaned in. Some reason. So she was fooling around, was being kept. And then the wives came after her, causing a huge scandal. So the school asked her to leave. Is that for real? No wonder she was so quick to accuse Chloe. It was her own experience. Look here. She also gambled, was in a huge amount of debt, and came back to the country to escape it. He suddenly turned his head, looking at her in disbelief. So, the million you borrowed from me, you said it was for a business venture. It was just to pay off your gambling debts. You never intended to pay me back. For the first time, he looked at her with that expression of utter disappointment and disgust. Sophie, how can your heart be so cruel? For you, I wronged Chloe so many times, but you even lied to me. Who said I lied to you? She said, unrepentant, a sneer on her face. You were the one who was stupid. Who's to blame? If not for hearing from an old classmate that you had a chance to bring a family member to Rongsheng, do you think I would have wasted my time with you? Besides, if I had married into a rich family, $1 million would have been nothing. I could have given you 10 million. It's your own incompetence. You couldn't even control your own woman. She was about to marry you, and you let her get away. If not for that, how would she have ended up stealing my man? Her words were cruel and harsh, but he did not argue. He slowly looked at me, his eyes full of sorrow, even a hint of despair. Yes, he murmured. That 1 million. I was going to use it to buy a wedding house, but I lost her. You lost more than that, the HR director said coldly. Damien, during your time as director of design department 2, you repeatedly cleaned up Sophie's messes, reassigning her unfinished work to other employees, forcing them to work overtime for her. As a leader, your partiality was a dereliction of duty. More importantly, a design she submitted 3 days ago was plagiarized from a competitor. You didn't notice and, to give her a chance to shine, you sent it directly to the client. Now that the client has found out, they are proposing to terminate our contract. You have caused reputational and financial damage to the company. In consideration of your past outstanding performance at the Rongsheng branch, please submit your resignation. He listened silently. I thought he would argue, would ask for another chance. I knew how much he cared about his career, but he just nodded calmly. All right, it is indeed my own fault. I will resign as soon as possible. The farce was over. The crowd quickly dispersed, and everyone went back to their desks to start a new day. I didn't pay much attention to what happened to them. The company had a legal department, and the various departments would follow up. The revelation of my identity did make my colleagues a little awkward and cautious at first, but remembering how they had defended me that morning, remembering our past pleasant interactions, I thought that little bit of awkwardness would soon pass. But when I was leaving work, I saw them tangled together downstairs. Damien, don't go looking for her. I forbid it. Didn't you used to care about me the most? I agree now. We can be together. Okay. He shook her off, his eyes full of disgust. I finally understand how she felt. To be a second choice. It's so hurtful. Sophie, I liked you for many years. In my memory, you were always the girl on the playground with a ponytail, your big eyes suddenly smiling at me. At that time, you were proud and disciplined. Even if you didn't accept me, I couldn't help but want to be close to you, to be good to you. Actually, after you came back, I hesitated and struggled many times. I had a feeling that you were no longer the person you used to be, but you gave me hope. After so many years of obsession, I didn't want to miss it. I only understand now that what I couldn't let go of was the unattainable past. I don't like you anymore. At the end, he was full of regret, but she wouldn't accept it. She thought he would always be her backup, would always be waiting for her. Her dream of marrying into a rich family was shattered. Even he didn't want her anymore. And with a huge debt on her back, she completely broke down. Even you are leaving me. I won't let you. If you want to go, we'll go together. She pulled him into the middle of the road. He broke free. In the end, she was the one who was hit by a car. She survived, but would spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. And he, after disappearing for half a month, appeared before me again. Chloe, I know we have no future. I just want to say a proper goodbye. He looked haggard, but his clothes were clean and neat. A white shirt, jeans, the same outfit he had worn the first time we met. Time had passed. He was no longer the stunning young man from back then. But seeing the pleading in his eyes, I also understood that we had never had a proper goodbye. When I had said I wanted to break up, he had never believed me. All right, I agreed. A 7-year relationship deserved a proper end. We sat facing each other in the cafe. After a long silence, he spoke softly. I just want to ask one question. If, back then, she hadn't come back, would you have married me? I took a sip of my coffee. The